There now. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Adapt Chat. Troy Morgan, it's Megan Corcoran. We're thankful you're with us for some Firmware Friday fun, that little industry little thing we like to throw in there. We're going to go ahead and just get right into it because we've got a lot of stuff to cover with you guys. A lot of exciting things have happened in the past 6 months. Some of which, unfortunately, we had to keep a little quiet. So I hope you're not too upset with us about that one, but you'll understand why in a moment. So Megan's going to kind of run us through a couple of things regarding Adapt and where we're at with things. So let me get our PowerPoint moving, and Megan, go ahead and give us some history and kind of take us to today.
All right, guys, so we started development on Adapt in 2012. The first project was actually Troy's house, where the Adapt system was deployed. We officially launched Adapt at CEDIA 2015. We're currently up to 110 Adapt dealers with over 850 systems deployed throughout the United States, Canada, and Trinidad. We have 5 master programmers on staff, and there's 10 of us all together that we're here to help you. So Adapt 2.0 was released. I'm sure most of you got the email.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. Included in Adapt 2.0 is energy automation, which we are about to dig into. We've included more than 20 driverless sources. We've updated the example program, some core updates happening there. The list expansions is now up to 100. We've updated all of our documentation, and you can get Adapt 2.0 in the dealer portal under downloads, the download section, where that is. So as far as upgrades with Adapt 2.0 go, we'd like you to reach out and schedule an hour with us so we can kind of walk you through that. And you can always shoot an email to the email right there below, adapt@pantechdesign.com.
Yeah, we're kind of recognizing that some of you may have not done an Adapt system recently or haven't actually downloaded 2.0, and we just want you to know that we get it. There are some tips and tricks and things that the guys can really help you with, and it's kind of cool because there's a lot of backwards compatibility between the Adapt 2.0 core and then the 1.0 modules, but at the same time, there's certain things that maybe you shouldn't do, certain things you definitely should do, and 1 hour with one of the developers, that's gonna help you a lot. We know there are going to be a lot of questions through this thing, and we do hope to have time at the very end to do some Q&A with you guys. If for some reason we can't get to that, then we definitely want to get those questions answered. So feel free to reach out if for some reason we can't get to those questions.
It looks like we have, so under the questions section is where we can.
Yeah, you guys should have a question section. If you just type a question in there at any time, really, because what we'll do is at the end we'll kind of go through them, top to bottom, and try to get these questions answered. So let's kind of step in a little bit to energy automation. There's a story behind this that's pretty special to me. It kind of explains a little bit of the context behind the choice and those types of things. So about a year ago, it was even closer to a year and a half ago, I guess. It was like June. I got a phone call from a guy named Blake Ricketta. Blake Ricketta is he basically runs the USA operation for Sonnen, the battery manufacturer. And he called me up and talked to me a little bit, and he shared a little bit about them and what they do, and basically asked if I'd be interested in partnering with them or controlling their battery. And at first it kind of didn't feel quite right, to be honest. A battery, really? It didn't make sense. Well, we talked again, and it was at that time things became a little more clear for me. about the possibilities and the potential and the opportunities, not only for Adapt and the software side, but also for the integrator channel and what they're going to be able to offer the customers. So third conversation, that sealed the deal. It helped me understand the challenges of energy in general, the grid, all this crazy stuff that I'm going to try and give you guys a taste of in this webinar. So we really did this because we felt like it is the next important thing that's going to happen to our industry, and we want to be a part of that. In fact, we want to lead that, and that's why we chose to do it. So the real purpose for doing this is to provide you guys a new way to get back in front of your customers with some very, very valuable, hardware and software that can, well, create for the first time, in my opinion, the ultimate home automation system. And up until today, it's kind of felt like we've been doing glorified remote controlled systems for a while. There's some scheduling things, and we turn lights on at certain times, and those kind of things. But what you're going to learn about what we've done with energy automation and Adapt is this is something that now where the home is actually going to manage itself relative to power needs and grid outages and weather in the area and those types of things. So that's a little backstory for you guys on the energy automation and kind of why we did what we did. I want to give you guys a little bit of background on what I've learned about energy, the utilities, and the grid. First of all, the typical use, or the typical thing I should say a utility company does is they have a base power plant that provides power to homes, buildings, and so on and so forth. That base power plant typically generates about 90% of all of the energy needed throughout a 24-hour period. Now notice I didn't say 100%, and that's because there's this other period of time where we all in the United States use a lot of energy. This is called our peak time. Some areas like California, we'll just say West Coast, and some areas on the East Coast, they actually get charged more for their power during that period of time. Some of you guys on this call, I know what I'm talking about because you actually pay this in your power bills. But what's interesting about this is that the base plant generating 90%, well, you've got to have this peaker plant now that handles the rest during that peak time. And a base power plant is typically a nuclear power plant or something like that you can't turn on and off very quickly. However, a peaker plant, you can. It takes maybe about 10, 15 minutes to get that thing spun up, and then they run that during the peak time, and then they shut it down. Here's what's very interesting about a peaker plant. It's extremely expensive. It's typically petroleum-based. And worse off, I've heard statistics anywhere between 50 to 70% of the United States emissions is all because of these peaker plants. And so that's an interesting component to this energy automation, because once we start doing storage in the homes and decentralizing power, we can affect the grid in a positive way, because guess what? That 90% of power they generate during that, from the base power plant, they only need like 40% of it during that time. So guess what happens to the rest? It gets shoved right into the ground. It's called curtailing, and it's extremely inefficient, and it just makes no sense to me. So if we can actually harness that power, we can take that power, we store it and use it, it changes the dynamic of the whole grid and the infrastructure and the utility companies and so on and so forth. So you couple this storage with solar as well, and that's a great thing. But you've heard a lot about solar and people doing solar on their homes, and that's super cool. It's really neat to be able to do it. But guess what? Most people aren't putting a storage system in with their solar because there's an expense there. And well, guess when they're generating solar? During the off-peak time, during the day when people aren't using as much energy, right? And so we're getting our sun and we're making our solar and we're powering our house. And guess what happens to the leftover power that they create? Because they can't store it. They send it back to the utility company. Utility company has to pay for this, and they don't even need it. So they're actually taking this power, they're paying for it, and then they're continuing to shove it into the ground to, well, get rid of it because there's no way to store it. Once we start doing these battery systems for homes, this changes that whole dynamic. So really the point is solar without a storage system may not make sense in most cases. A storage system, the battery technology, and especially with respect to the Sonnen battery technology, allows for some really neat things. There's going to be some phrases I'm going to use, or some words I'm going to use that I'm going to blow through a little bit, but I'm hopefully going to be able to train you guys and talk to you guys a little bit more if you don't understand what these are. The first being TOU, or time of use. Time of use is essentially a period of time during the day where you are focused on the peak and off peak. Okay, so you have a peak time where you're paying, 40 cents a kilowatt hour, and then you've got this off peak time where you're paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour. You can actually, even without solar at all, you can actually put a storage system in and pay for the power during that time of use, or during that off peak period at 10 cents a kilowatt, and then store it. And then over on the peak time, use the battery, the stored energy in the battery, to power those loads during peak, thus not having to pay 40 cents a kilowatt hour. You're only paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Another name for that is daily cycling and load shifting, because you're essentially shifting the loads to a later period of time during the day for your peak time. And there's another thing that's starting to happen that's very interesting to me. It's expensive. Peak demand. The utility companies are actually looking at your home to see how high you go in a given day in terms of your energy use. And they will charge you, let's just say they put your peak demand at, I don't know, keep it simple, 5,000 watts. Well, that means that you could be hitting 4,999 watts all day long, and bang, as soon as you hit 5,000, it's an immediate like $150 right then and there. It's kind of crazy. So what the Sonnen battery technology allows us to do is to manage that in such a way that we can make sure that never happens. And now you couple that with energy automation and the things that you guys can do with the Adapt software. You guys are going to be able to create a beautiful situation for a client in terms of their power profiles and things like that. Last thing I want to touch on is the utility companies themselves. They have some huge challenges on their hands. They are trying to figure this problem out, the peaker plant thing, and the curtailing problem and whatnot. But there's even more to this, and they're starting to get into, and they have been actually for a while, getting into this demand response. What they want to do is they want to send a command to a home or a building and say, we need you to shed some load right now. Up until now, really the only demand response that's been capable in the home is just the thermostat. Google and Nest, they've been doing some things with regards to that, and utility companies, and that's okay. But this is where we, through Sonnen battery technology, the Adapt software, and energy automation, can add a tremendous amount of value to the utility company. And those are things that we are actually working on right now, and we'll be working on with utility companies directly. So that's pretty exciting. Next thing I want to talk a little bit about is the battery technology itself. Now, there are other storage systems on the market. You've heard of them, you've seen them. There are many reasons to focus on the Sonnen technology, because guys, this is the best. There's not a better battery storage company, in my opinion, in the world. Again, plenty of others, but why Sonnen, and what's so great about this battery? Well, first off, a 15-year warranty, 15,000 cycle battery. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I don't have to even say anything else. The other thing is the ATS, or the automatic transfer switch, in this battery is quite amazing. It's 100 milliseconds or less. What that means is different than a generator. We're not waiting 30 seconds to go from grid to battery. We're waiting less than 100 milliseconds. This is cool because, and I'll touch on this a little later, but it's great because you can offer to your client a protective kind of a thing in regards to the battery for all the equipment that's connected to the battery. Couple other things, the batteries come in different kind of sizes, if you will. They start at a 10 kilowatt hour and they move up to a 20 kilowatt hour. Now, our clients and the affluent clients that we sell to, they may need a couple, 2, 3 of these to accomplish whatever you guys are going to, design for them. So, you get to mix and match a little bit in kind of 2 kilowatt steps, because there's like, each battery is a 2 kilowatt battery, and you can kind of, adjust the design of the battery as needed. Batteries are typically going to need to be installed in a 41 to 113 degree area. That means in Texas, probably not a good idea to stick it in a garage. I didn't stick mine in my garage. And then the battery technology itself, the actual lithium technology is phenomenal. I've got a little chart down here that shows some of the battery technologies out there that some of the other manufacturers are using, and the Sonnen. You also see that there's a picture of a lithium iron phosphate cell, basically, and what they're doing there is a puncture test. And this is really cool because this puncture test on a lithium iron phosphate battery only produces about 150 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit of heat, and it just bubbles. That's pretty much it. The lithium ion nickel cobalt, or the NMC, which again some of the other storage manufacturers are using in a puncture test, will generate somewhere between 700 to even up to 1400 degrees Fahrenheit and immediately catch fire. Something else I learned a couple of days ago actually is this fire can actually be underwater. So water is not going to put that out. That fire would happen like literally underwater, which is kind of mind-blowing. So the battery technology that Sonnen uses is, in my opinion, matches the luxury brand that we sell with respect to Crestron, Adapt, and those other things. It's a beautiful match there for our customers. And then of course IP communication with the battery, which we'll look at here in a little bit. Couple of use cases, or maybe I should say a better explanation of the things that we're doing with the Adapt software and energy automation is smart weather forecast and backup. So we actually have a weather module that continues to poll. It goes out to NOAA.gov. It gets this information, and when there's a potential, or when there is severe weather in the area causing a potential for a grid outage, we're going to know about it. And we're going to do some things to the battery automatically to prepare for this. We're also going to maybe even do some things to the home automatically. These are decisions that you guys get to make. One thing I want to touch on in regard to that is you'll see this little graphic where it shows 20%. Well, we talked a little bit about what daily cycling is, and where we're taking loads and we're kind of shifting them, and we're taking our sunlight and we're storing it. Well, a lot of times we only need to really store 20% of the battery's total capacity in order to achieve powering the loads later on during peak time. But if we suspect we're going to have an outage and we have no idea how long that's going to last, we definitely want to try and charge that battery up as quickly as possible. And again, this is something that the Adapt software does automatically with the Sonnen battery, which is a really cool feature that you guys are going to be able to provide to your clients. Along with that, another component of energy automation in Adapt is smart configurable backup. This is super, super cool. This involves the ability to kind of shape the load of the home relative to the potential, or relative to the grid outage. Meaning, if you're in California and you typically deal with the 1 hour, 2 hour rolling blackout thing, you might be okay just powering all the loads that are connected to the battery and running with that. However, if you're in a situation where you don't know how long this outage might last, utility companies kind of said, gee, we're expecting we might get you guys back up sometime in 2 in the morning or whatever, then you get to make some decisions on the fly about how the home is going to deal with this situation to make sure that the battery lasts as long as possible, and we're powering at that point the essential loads of the home, things like refrigerators, freezers, other devices, like maybe even the internet. I mean, our customers would probably want to stay connected through an outage. So this ability to make these decisions on the fly involves control of Eaton intelligent breakers, which we've been doing now for a little while. I actually have a couple in my house, and they're not out yet. They're expected to be out sometime next year. That's what we're hoping, but it is absolutely possible. So imagine the Crestron system running the Adapt software, basically changing the power profile of a home relative to a default, or a customer simply pressing a button saying, I think this one might last a while. I just want to power my essential loads. We're shutting down the water heater. We're not taking hot showers. We're shutting down the, washer, dryer, and stove, and we're just not messing with any of that. But we're definitely going to leave the refrigerators and the freezers and those types of things on. So that's part of the beauty of energy automation. Our customers, and I've talked to quite a few now. I actually talked to them early on, just to get a sense, right, of, is this a thing that our affluent client that really they're not looking at things from a return on investment standpoint in a lot of cases. They're more looking at it from the standpoint of resiliency. I mean, are they gonna want this? And what I learned is absolutely. But I also learned that there are extremely wealthy people that do care about their carbon footprint and do care about the environment, and all of this does play a role. But for the most part, our customers, I believe, are going to be focused on resiliency, protecting their assets. So I mentioned this earlier about how cool the battery technology is and the ATS switchover and all that. Well, you actually can go to your client now and say that anything that you power, or put on the back side of this battery has a level of protection to it, because the battery is so smart that it actually pays attention to the grid power coming in. It's looking at the frequency, it's looking at basically stability, and it's making sure that if that ever becomes unstable or things get out of whack, it immediately is going to switch over to battery power. That is going to ensure that the hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that you've put in a customer's home will be protected to some degree. Obviously, it's going to provide comfort of lifestyle. They're going to, convenience. I mean, they're going to look outside and they're going to see dark street, but in their home, they're going to be able to sit down and watch TV if they want to, or have air conditioning, or whatever you guys want to do relative to their need, you're going to be able to accomplish with the sun and battery technology and Adapt Energy Automation. And of course, they love, a lot of them love to be cutting edge and doing the new cool thing. And in my opinion, this is the first time that we're able to offer true, real automation of a home relative to power and power profiles.
I don't know if you pointed out, if you go back to the next slide, that
Sure.
That's actually the Sonnen EcoLinks battery. Right there.
Yeah, it is. That battery is exact. That is the EcoLinks battery. And a lot of the clients, they're putting it. I know that may seem a little strange to see that where it is. That's actually happening because I see people's faces when they see it, and they actually dig it. It's very, very cool to kind of show it off a little bit. I'm actually going to put a plexi cover on mine like we had at the show. I want to do that. Another wonderful thing, and a reason why we're doing this and why we're pitching this to you guys is, well, the growth opportunity. It's pretty clear right there. I mean, Bloomberg did a study recognizing that the storage category is going to increase by 700% over the next 12 years. Guys, I don't think we're going to see that kind of increase in terms of speakers and video distribution and these types of things, but we're definitely going to see it in energy and energy storage. And also the Environmental Defense Fund predicts a 900% growth. But this is really cool. Employment in energy storage has increased. So this is not predicted. We have these metrics by 235%. So there's obvious growth occurring, and I truly believe that you guys need to be a part of it. So how did we do this? How do we make this happen? Well, first, I want you guys to know that I've had plenty of conversation with Sonnen in regard to this channel, the custom integration channel. There is a huge desire to help this channel understand the technology, understand how to sell it, and that's what it's all about. So your next step really is to get a little bit of training, whether it's going to be from Pantech Design on the sales side or the design side, or from Sonnen, or both. There's some talk with Sonnen about doing some trainings together, where we can kind of blend our, our collective understandings of their industry, the solar and electrical contractor industry, and then our industry, the home automation. We believe that we're going to be able to bring some wonderful training to you guys. But obviously, finding an opportunity is really going to be where you're going to start. That opportunity might be it might be your own home. It might be the showroom. It might be a customer that you want to guinea pig this thing with and have some fun doing. But we got to start somewhere. And so I actually guinea pigged myself and my family. I put a Sonnen battery in, and we've had a lot of fun with it. I got a great story about that here in a bit. Next thing is, how do you get this battery? Sonnen's got some beautiful purchasing options. They are open and willing and ready to have these conversations with you guys. You've got really two models, but I think there may be some other things that they're going to put together for you guys too. But first, you have direct dealer model where you can buy directly from Sonnen. There is, I believe, a financial commitment that you're going to make in that regard. And then there's also the distribution channel, which you still get a great deal on the battery, but you don't get as good of a deal if you're buying direct. But then again, you also don't have to make the financial commitment because the distributor's done that for you. So again, they are very happy to have these conversations, and really all you got to do is get connected with Megan or myself. Probably Megan, she's going to be able to respond faster than I think I can these days. So she'll get you connected to the right people based on your territory and Sonnen. And then there's other things that we can do to help you guys with design specifically. We understand how these things need to get put together in terms of the loads and some of the automation, if you will, requirements in order to achieve true energy automation, and we will help you guys make that happen. So please reach out. It's what we're here for. It's absolutely what we want to do. So with that said, I'm actually going to do a live demonstration. Now, before I do this, I want to let everybody know that what you're about to see, there's no smoke and mirrors here, not at all. That rack of equipment behind me is fully powered by the battery. Currently, right now, it's on grid because we have power in the house. But our internet, our routers, our switches, all of those things, wireless, all that stuff, it's all connected to the battery. And you're going to see that all remains intact. When I shut the power down to actually when Megan shuts the power down to the house, I'm going to have her go do that. Before we do this, let's take a look at what this looks like when we are connected to the grid, and then we'll go ahead and unplug from the grid and see what this looks like. So what you're seeing here is that I am connected to the grid, and by the way, these pages and all this is all built into Adapt 2.0. So this is it's there, ready for you guys. I have an estimated time of 6 hours and 34 minutes remaining based on 98% of my battery to power the 1,492 watts that the loads that are connected to the battery are using. You'll see that it will fluctuate. It is designed to do that. We talked a little bit earlier about the different modes of operation. Well, I may be in a time of use situation where I only need to store 20% of my battery on a daily basis so that I can power my loads during peak time, which would be maybe from 5 to 9. I can also maybe do a multiple TOU mode where I've got a morning TOU and an evening TOU. You see this a lot on the East Coast because they have heaters, and they use the heaters in the morning, they use the heaters in the evening. So that's a normal thing as well. And then you've got self-consumption and some other things that you can do also. What I'm going to do real quick is just simulate a weather event, if you will. So you'll notice that we're in TOU mode and we're doing our daily cycling. We're charging our battery up to 20%, and then we're using that 20% of the battery later on in the evening. But if we have severe weather in the area and a potential grid outage, we're going to want to make a change to that, and that is all an automated thing. So I'm going to simulate this weather event. And you'll see here that it's going to set that backup buffer to 100%. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And if you'll notice, what we've got is, oh, I hit the wrong button. I apologize. Bear with me. What we've got is, we've got a page overlay, I see. That's on me. What we've got now is we've got our backup buffer set to 100%. So now that this backup buffer is set to 100, I am now preparing for this grid outage that could potentially occur. I'm charging that battery up to 100%. And you guys can also offer your clients a situation where maybe we change some lighting in the home, or we lower the set point of the thermostat to pre-cool the home to prepare for a potential power outage. Those are all things that you guys can do from the home automation side of things. Megan, why don't you go ahead and go flip our breaker for us, and we'll see what happens there.
And we are getting your questions. They're all great questions, so keep them
coming. We're definitely going to get to those. While Megan's doing that, I'll show you the info screen just so we can just see a little bit about that. Yeah, you can see here that I've got a 10 kilowatt hour capacity. I've got 5 modules or 5 batteries. We just kicked off the power. I can hear it. And we poll every 10 seconds. So within 10 seconds, you're going to see what a homeowner might see if they're home. Now, what this means is I can make a choice. I can use real information, what's going on, in my life, or what I've learned, or whatever, to decide what I really want to power. Maybe I'm just going to do the essentials only, right? Just the refrigerators, the freezers, and so on and so forth. Or maybe it's that, again, California rolling blackout thing where it's like a 2-hour deal. We know we've got 6 hours, right? So powering all of them is just fine. So I'm going to say power just the essentials. Now you'll notice we are completely off grid. The home is consuming 1,700 watts. So the battery is discharging at that same level. And we've got 5 hours and 37 minutes left relative to that use. Let's go ahead and bring power back, Megan. Go ahead and bring power back for us, and we'll talk a little bit about what happens there. And while Megan's doing that, I wanted to show you guys there's a whole other aspect of this, energy monitoring, where we can monitor energy to make good decisions about what to do with the battery or the home itself relative to power outages and these types of things. All of these are things that we can do today. And I've actually been monitoring energy in my home since 2013, even down to the load level, which is pretty exciting. So I think Megan's got that done for us. So now we're going to take a look, and we're going to see that our grid is connected now. So we actually do have grid power coming in. However, the battery itself has not chosen to take that grid power yet. And there's a reason. It has to do with some UL and IEEE rules and things, but it is a 5-minute time period that the Sonnen battery technology has to look at the grid, look at the stability of the grid, the frequency, those types of things. And when it's happy and when it's good, then we will accept grid power. That ATS, that 100 milliseconds or less, that's going to switch over again. And this time it's going to switch back to grid power. And then we're going to use that grid power to charge the battery back up to where we're supposed to, and obviously power the devices in the home. So that's an example or a real live demo of energy automation and control of the Sonnen EcoLinks battery technology.
Did you mention how that page would look when you add solar into the
Oh,
picture?
yeah. You know what? I didn't. Thank you very much, Megan. So I don't have solar on the house yet. I expect that we'll do that sometime in this quarter. And if I did have solar, I would actually see a little grid icon here, and I'd see a blue line pointing down, and that would give me my production. Instead of, like you see, consumption here, it would be a production meter letting me know how much energy I'm producing from my solar. Thanks for reminding me about that one. That was good. Last thing I want to show you guys is the Eaton Intelligent Breaker. Now, this has been a lot of fun. I actually last night installed, it was super cool, installed an Eaton Intelligent Breaker designed specifically for electric vehicles. Now, this breaker, it's like this big. It's actually 4 breaker locations large, but it is super cool because it's actually got a little meter on it, and the bottom line is you can use your car, the idea, I should say, behind this is you use your car as a battery for the home. I mean, if these clients have Tesla cars, 100 kilowatt hour battery, that actually can become a storage for the home as well. So not only are you able to charge your car, you can actually use your car battery in the case of an outage, which is neat. And then, of course, control. And this is important for us and for the Adapt Energy Automation, because being able to turn on and off those breakers gives us the ability to create that power profile relative to how long we might have an outage, or maybe giving the client the ability to dynamically make some of these decisions. That's awesome to be able to do. Plus, they have built-in current transformers, so I actually can get energy information or power use data from those things. And you can actually take that and tie it directly into a Crestron fusion system as well. So you can actually use the CT data from the Eaton Intelligent Breaker and feed it in to an EM system. So this is actually a real live EM system right here. This is my house. You can see that, here's my monthly use. There's my previous month's use. Here's the preceding period. That green line shows you kind of what's going on. So I did this all in preparation for having the home become this extremely intelligent thing and manage itself relative to power, relative to battery life, relative to real live situations going on in our home. And that's where I want to tell you guys a quick story. I was last night, this is no joke, my power went off and on 23 times. There must have been a transformer that blew or something. I've never seen it happen like that before in my life. I inadvertently stress tested the you-know-what out of my Sonnen battery, and it performed beautifully. It did not fail once. We actually, we watched TV and lived a normal life while the power was literally coming on and going off for a period of about, I guess that lasted from about 5:30 until about 9:45. And to be able to sit back and smile and look at my wife and go, isn't this cool? It was really neat. It made it all worth it. So
and it was, you and I chatted at some point during that time period. And
yeah,
it was cool. It was definitely a cool thing to.
We were on the internet. We were doing the things we needed to do, and
Yes.
it was quite incredible. So that 5-minute time period has expired. The ATS has flipped back. You'll now see that the consumption is coming in at 1,720 watts, and that's because we're charging the battery at 200 watts, and then the rest of it is being fed to the house for the loads that we're powering. So that is energy automation, and quite a bit I know to take on or take in, and I'm sure there's lots of questions that we have. But I want to get right back to our PowerPoint, and then we will go ahead and finish this up and get into some Q&A with you guys. With me. Oh, of course it would do this to me. That's okay though. So I'm gonna roll through it super fast. All right, I think this is roughly where we were. Okay, good deal. So last but not least, some of the new things coming. Megan's going to run us through some of these.
So I'm sure you guys got my email, I believe that was yesterday, the day before. We will be at the CTP Summit in New York, California, and Florida. We'll be displaying during the partner showcase, which is from 6:30 to 8 on the first day of the event. So I believe that's the 9th, the 15th, and the 24th.
I think you got that right. Yeah, we're excited to be doing that because it just further supports that Crestron believes in our approach, right, to software and those types of things. But there's another really special thing that is going to be announced, I guess, at the CTP summits. I'm allowed to announce this a little early to you guys, but you may have heard of Project Blackbird. That is Crestron's HTML5 initiative. They will be announcing at the CTP Summit that there were 3 companies that they chose to work with on the alpha and beta stage of HTML5, and we are super excited and thankful to be one of those 3. That is really super exciting because what it's going to do is it's going to keep us, like we've always tried to be for you guys, on the forefront of things, the emerging technologies, as well as things that obviously need to happen, which I think we can all agree that needs to happen. So we're pumped about that. That starts immediately. We had our first meeting yesterday with their engineers, so super excited about that.
And that's one of 3 in the world.
Yeah, correct? Yeah, 1 of 3 in the world. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Pretty exciting opportunity. So next up, training videos. We are working on getting those online, so you guys can have those on demand. Watch them when you can, opposed to that long Thursday taking time out of the field day. So
I think we're going to break them up too, aren't we?
Yes.
We're going to put them into different, so that you guys they become searchable and yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So Joe is actually working on those, and we're excited.
Joe.
We were excited for that. And then we also have our new website launching here soon.
Yeah, few little things left. Got some video stuff we're doing, and then the new website's going to be out. You guys will dig that. We're going to show a lot more about the energy automation. There will be some better video footage for you guys and things like that.
We also added a homeowner section, which I know a lot of you guys have been kind of asking for something that's more, homeowner focused, and so that'll be good to direct your clients there for, whatever they may need.
Yeah.
Also, as always, we love to hear your testimonials. Absolutely feel free to send those in. If you love Adapt, you love what you're doing, you have a really cool project that you've done with Adapt, send it our way. Let your Crestron RSN know that, what your experience has been with Adapt. And then don't forget about our Adapt dealer referral program. You bring us a dealer, they sign up, or a Crestron dealer, they sign up as an Adapt dealer, you get a free key.
That's like, guys, I mean,
$1,000.
that's an easy $1,000. Yeah, I've never seen a referral program quite like that one before, so we're pretty proud of that. I really want you guys to take advantage of that one. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then, our success is your success. So we want to help you. Let us know how we can, better help you be successful.
Yeah.
We're here for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for all of your support over the years. Thank you for all your help. And with that said, we're gonna go ahead and take on some of these questions here. We don't need to necessarily spell out who they're from, I think, but let's read them out, and then I'll see if I can field them.
All right, so Adapt 2.0, can we enter more than 10 presets now with this update? Before it was limited to only 10 through System Manager.
10 presets for, does he spell out which presets he's asking for? 10 presets, the update. I'm actually, hold on, Jason's giving me something here. Oh, favorites. It's my understanding you could do a lot more than 10. I am pretty sure that is true, but you know what? This is probably a good opportunity to just quickly show you the automation tab of System Manager 2.0. This is where you're going to be able to make some decisions about grid loss and things like that. But let's go in and see if we can answer Jason's question here by adding some stuff. And
oh, Jason says there was a bug.
Oh, okay. I am familiar with that. So yes, as far as I know, that has been cured. That is a great one for the forum, though. So let's see if we can get. I'll make sure that you get your answer from one of the guys, from Joe or somebody. But good question, and we'll get that answer to you.
Right. So while Sonnen is different than a natural gas generator, how is the cost comparison?
So natural gas generator, I'm not too sure about that overall cost, but I'm guessing you're still in the $25,000, $35,000 range, and that's really where the Sonnen battery retail is. It's right there. So from what I understand, pretty in line. But one thing I guess I could touch on as well is the fact that the Sonnen battery technology is designed to work alongside of a generator too. So see, there are reasons to have the generator and there are reasons to have the battery. And so Sonnen was really intelligent about this because, look, they've been doing this for like 10 years. They got like 40,000 of these things out there in the world. So this is not their first rodeo. So they actually built in the ability for the Sonnen battery to automatically start a generator and actually pass that power over to the generator. And then guess what? The generator can actually charge the battery back up. And it's just a really neat way to deal with the generator. So yeah, great question there. Thank you.
One of our favorite questions.
What?
Is there an ROI on Sonnen?
The ROI. So look, the ROI, yes, I mean, absolutely. Look at the fact that it's a 15-year warranty and a 15,000 cycle battery that's probably, depending on how you use it, going to last you until, it could be 20 years. But when you're looking at the overall, like if you're looking at a price per kilowatt type thing and that kind of stuff, they are on the upper end. And the focus, in my opinion, shouldn't be centered around ROI. It should be more centered around, the resiliency factor and what you can do with home automation or energy automation to augment a lifestyle. And really, I mean, that's what our responsibility is. That's our industry. I mean, we are responsible for these people's lifestyle. So a little less focused on ROI, more focused on value and providing that that lifestyle, that comfort that our customers are used to. So
comfort and convenience.
Yeah, comfort and convenience.
And we did the math yesterday. It was about 40 years that this battery will last.
It depends on use, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it can get crazy. I don't know if 40 is right, but it's again, depending on how long you're cycling the battery, and there's a daily cycle rate where you can actually take this thing down to 0, back up to 100, down to 0, back up to 100. I think you do that 5 times, maybe even 10, which I don't know why you would ever do that, but it's smart enough to handle it, I guess, at the point.
Is there a known correlation between Tesla owner buying Sonnen?
Known correlation between a Tesla owner buying Sonnen. I think what you might be getting at there is, do we see the same type of customer that would buy a Tesla Powerwall buying a Sonnen battery? And the answer is yes. Once you start to understand the battery chemistry, where the battery is actually being installed in the house, and some of the things that you can do with the Sonnen battery technology above and beyond what you're capable of doing with other battery manufacturers, it definitely makes sense to look at the Sonnen technology. I think that one thing, I don't want to mislead, but I can only share my feelings from what I've seen, and what I've seen from some of the other manufacturers of battery technology is that they're a little bit more closed ecosystem than what Sonnen has been doing. Sonnen has chosen to partner with leading manufacturers like Eaton, like us and others to make innovation happen. And so there's going to be a lot more I think we're going to be able to do with the Sonnen technology, which in turn allows you to bring that value to your customers, which I really dig. So not sure if there's a direct correlation there, but for certain reasons, I think so. Yeah.
All right. So let's see it. So the battery can store grid power, correct? If you don't have solar.
Yes, in fact, that's actually how my house is working and has been working for the past month and a half or two. I don't have solar yet, so I'm really using it as a backup system because I actually don't have a peak and off-peak time period. I pay 8.3 cents a kilowatt hour right now. However, I did just have some solar guys over the house yesterday. And they informed me that this is a very intelligent decision right now because guess what's coming? We're going to be paying more for peak time, and we also can start taking advantage of some things like the free nights and weekends plans, and there are other plans that will potentially be sensible for us just with the battery technology that we have right now. But also when adding solar, there's going to be energy plans that are going to make a lot of sense for us that we'll be able to use and really minimize costs on. So yeah, good question.
Kind of going back to the last question that we just had, Jessica wanted to add in, Tesla's obviously not as safe because that battery chemistry, harder to get, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Let me just mention that that Sonnen is you're not waiting to get the battery that you need. Right now, batteries are sort of tough to come by depending on the manufacturer, and Sonnen does not have these challenges. They are very, very well stocked, yeah, obviously, I mean, if you're going to look at Tesla and Sonnen directly, it is fair to say that the Sonnen battery technology is far more safe than the Tesla stuff and anybody else who's not using lithium iron phosphate. Well, you guys see my little R2 buddy back there. When I started really digging into battery technology was when I started engineering him. Because last thing I wanted to do was go spend a whole bunch of money in building this thing and putting in kind of crappy batteries that could potentially blow up. So he actually has lithium iron phosphate batteries in him as well. It's kind of cool. Neat little trivia thing there.
We'll see if we can't get those videos out of the nail test, the puncture test.
Oh yeah.
See if we can get those out to you guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, lost my place here. Are we planning to do another webinar to focus on the ADAPT 2.0 changes outside of energy automation?
I hadn't given that any thought, but the question alone makes me consider it. It will probably be something that we might hold a technical webinar that maybe Joe will do. I like that idea. Who said that?
Dean.
Okay,
but
great.
that also goes back to call in, set up that hour time frame to chat with one of the guys.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to help you guys get from 1.0 to 2.0. So, but I think it's a good idea, Dean, that we do a webinar. Thank you.
How do I find downloads for new 2.0 modules templates? That is on the website in the dealer portal under downloads. It's not specified that it's ADAPT 2.0, but it is on there. Do you want to?
Yeah, I can real quickly just kind of show us where that is. So obviously, just like you're used to, you go to the dealer portal, log in, and when you log in, you're going to go to purchase products. That's where you'll download. And when you download, it'll be in a package just like the 1.0 stuff was, and it'll put it, I believe, in your My Documents folder. Good question.
Expected availability of the Eaton Smart Breaker.
So Eaton is, they told us originally they were hoping September, October. That turned into November, December. I'm kind of telling people sometime next year, beginning of next year. I think first quarter next year is a reasonable time. One thing I guess I could add, because we've actually got systems happening like right now, and because the Eaton stuff's not available, there are other breaker things out there. There's relay controlled breakers, there's 232 control breakers. I never even really knew about that until we started really digging into what we're doing here. And now I'm seeing that there's other options out there. We love the Eaton stuff because the Eaton stuff it's wireless. It communicates wirelessly. It gives us CT information. There's a lot of great stuff that it does, but they're not out yet. And when they do come out, we have a sense of what the costs will be, and they're not going to be inexpensive. They're going to be. There is a potential that a single pole 15 amp breaker could come in somewhere around $400 or $500 or more. So.
Going back to the Tesla question, it was more for correlation of Tesla car owners buying a Sonnen battery system. I would think it's the same target market.
Okay. So now I get where you were going, Jason. Yes, the target market is very similar, and I see the correlation that you're asking about. So yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of people that would have bought a Powerwall buying Sonnen battery instead because it's just better. I mean, and a lot of the same things apply in terms of the technology, but Sonnen and what they're doing is just far superior. I mean, there's things we haven't even gotten into yet, like what a VPP is, a virtual power plant, and the opportunities that exist for you guys in that regard. There's the microgrid is the key to fixing or changing this peaker plant problem that we kind of discussed early on. And I'm happy to take deeper dives with you guys on this stuff. An hour is definitely not enough time to give you a year worth of my learning and figuring this stuff out. So happy to take those deeper conversations with you.
Can you name the other options for the smart breakers? And before you answer that, we've got about 3 minutes. So if you guys have any questions.
Read out
can you
name of other options. Yeah, so man, I actually just did a simple Amazon, Google kind of a search. I actually bought a Square D breaker off of Amazon. That is a relay control breaker. It was like $44. I could send you the link to that. Haven't actually plugged it in, played with it just yet. But there's other breakers by Schneider. Keith sent me a link. One of our developers sent me a link and shared a whole other interesting panel design that was RS-232 controlled. So there's kind of a breakout box over here, and you send 232 commands to this breakout box, and the breakout box then controls the breakers, I think via relay. And happy to send that link to you as well.
Comment on that. Load shedding panels will probably also work.
Load shedding panels. Not familiar exactly with the terminology, but I think maybe what you're talking about is what we like to call a protected loads panel or an essential loads panel, where basically what you're doing is instead of using the breakers to modify the main panel, there's a separate panel and you connect all your loads to that.
We got a little bit of specification there. You said used with gas generators.
Yeah, same concept, exactly. Same concept. Yep.
Do we have any other questions?
Other questions?
Comments? Thoughts?
Okay. Well, guys, I am so thankful for your time. I understand the value of your time. I am appreciative that you took the time to spend it with Megan and I. Hopefully this was valuable, and at the very least, we wanted to at least give you guys a sense of what we're working on, what we've done so far, and kind of what we're thinking about as well. And again, like I've said, quite a few times, we are very happy to have these deeper discussions with you guys. Love the feedback about the training. So we're gonna make that happen. I think it's a smart idea to do a technical webinar for Adapt 2.0, and it'll probably be centered around everything that's not energy automation related. Yeah, everybody have a wonderful Friday. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Adapt Chat.
Thanks, guys.